Aloha kako, everyone. Mahalo for being here and attending this vigil. And I want to send out a mahalo to the Department of Public Safety and the Victim Services team there for inviting me to come and share my mana'o. I hope that you will find something useful and meaningful to you here. My name is Nonohe Botelho, and I'm an independent consultant for victims and their surviving families. I've been doing that for 10 years, and I work for myself. I don't work for anybody, and I have to say up front that I am not an attorney, but I've learned a lot that's helped me, and that includes my years in the mental health field, and also I worked at the Department of Prosecuting Attorneys as a victim witness advocate under Peter Carlisle. I learned a lot there. I attended trials. I accompanied parents and families to help them get through the process. Um, and I learned a lot. I learned how the judicial system works and doesn't work, especially for victims. After the Department of Prosecuting Attorneys, I became a child forensic interviewer at the Children's Justice Center here on Oahu. And I interviewed children, witnesses, children who were subject to sex abuse or physical abuse, and even witnesses in murder cases. And I was doing that back in 2010, and then 2011, January 2nd, my son Joel was shot in front of our home in Kaneohe. He was shot and died at the scene. And the defendant in the case, we knew, and also attended high school with Joel. He was arrested and convicted in 2011. He was convicted of second-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder because he tried to kill my younger son as well. So essentially, I almost lost two of my sons, and I only have three children in the same night. And although tragic with Joel, I am blessed to have my youngest son still with me and alive and well, and my daughter. So, it was a horrendous experience, and then having to go through a trial was traumatizing. We did get the conviction with a unanimous jury, and let me just say that jury trials are very tricky because you have to have 12 individuals come to the same conclusion as whether to convict or acquit, and it's not easy. There's no such thing as a slam dunk case. After we got the conviction, we were notified a year later that the defendant filed an appeal with the Intermediate Court of Appeals and won. And what happened is our case got overturned, the conviction got overturned, and that was based on two things. One, that the judge made an error in the case, and due to prosecutorial misconduct. The prosecutor failed to turn over discovery, is what they call it in legal terms. And so therefore the case was thrown out and the case was overturned, and we were notified that we were going to have to go through a second trial. Well, I've been through the trial system, and I've been through second trials and third trials even, and I did not want to put my family through that experience again, because once is enough. And I was really adamant about making a plea deal. We all ended up making a plea deal. The defendant pleaded to the lesser manslaughter and agreed to do 25 years, which he is currently serving in Arizona. During the plea deal sentencing, the defendant had to be in front of my family and his family in the court, and he admitted his guilt, and he said guilty to the attempted murder, guilty, guilty, guilty to all the charges. And I have to tell you that I didn't expect it, but what happened was had a profound moment in that courtroom. Hearing him say guilty was my justice. Yes, we got the conviction, and some would think that's justice. But for me, hearing the defendant say he did it was my justice, and that's where I began to be able to heal. Just hearing that, and nobody can take that away from me. So I began to go on my healing journey. At the time of the sentencing, the judge also told me, hey, Mrs. Botelho, if you want to change the law, you need to go to the legislature. And so that's what I did. I've been legislating for the last 10 years on both the increase of first degree murder and also with the Victims' Bill of Rights. The Victims' Bill of Rights does exist, and what it includes briefly is that you have the right to be notified of all changes in your case, including plea deals. You have the right to participate and be notified of all hearings. You have the right to be notified if a defendant is released. So right now we have the Bill of Rights, but it's not enforceable because there's a caveat in the Bill of Rights that says that the city and county or state employees, including prosecutors, cannot be prosecuted or liable for such things. So I'm working on that and having stronger enforcement on the Victims' Bill. I had to become my own advocate. I did advocacy in my professional career, and then I found myself as a victim and surviving family, and I had to become my own advocate, and I became the voice of my son. And I have to tell you folks that you are your own best advocate for your loved one, and you should bother the prosecutors and stay on top of your case because things happen and you get notified after the fact. And I've seen that, and it's very sad when that happens. I also want to encourage all of you folks to sign up for SAVN. It's a notification system through the Department of Public Safety. SAVN will notify you of the defendant's where he is, where his physical body is, whether he's being transferred from one prison to the next, or whether you have hearings coming up with the Hawaii Paroling Authority. I think it's very important to sign up for that because a lot of times for me, I get SAVN notifications before the prosecutor even notifies me. So at least with the SAVN, I get prompt notifications. So sign up for that. In closing, I wanted to say that, I hardly ever use the word closure because I don't really feel that we get closure in our hearts. But I do believe on moving forward and finding healing for yourself and taking care of yourself and giving yourself permission to grieve. Because grieving is a process and everyone grieves differently and grieve at different times. And so, like me, get the help that you need through mental health services. I did, and I found it very helpful. And specifically, I think victims should be provided services for trauma. And that's what we go through, and that's like what I call it. It's trauma. So I want to encourage all of you to move forward. Malama pono, take care of yourself. Malama kokino, take care of your body. And most of all, take care of each other. And I hope that you have found this meaningful and useful in some way. So again, thank you for having me and thank you for attending. And my heart goes out to all of you. Mahalo.